welcome back to the fifth episode we are rolling on into. I wanted to just make a little bit longer of a disclaimer before I get right into the video at hand. I just wanted to say all my opinions are mine and mine alone, are my personal opinions and free speech on public figures. Anything retaining in this video is just my opinion alone, perhaps giving clues if they are clues, and anything else that I will say in this video will be alleged, and I will make it clear when doing so when talking about this topic of discussion. So I wanted to come to you guys and just out of recent light of all the violence that has been going on in the world, and just kind of take a minute to remember this situation that happened back on September 1st 2002 with Michael Tardio and Christoper Monson. Now this happened a long time ago, 22 years. I'm kind of saddened for the family that they had to have went like 22 years. I mean, I can't even fathom how his little child, his son, must have felt at the time growing up without his father. And I think that's what we need to keep in mind, and not get so fooled by the glitz and glamour of maybe former models, if you will. And I'm going to talk about how Sandy and Mandy Bentley were associated with this controversial topic in 2002. Now, Sandy and Mandy, I'm sorry, that sounds so stupid. I don't know why their parents named them that. They must have been pregnant in the 70s or something, but anyway, in my opinion. But yeah, I discovered a really interesting article that I want to read with you that I just found to be very, very intriguing to me. Because if this perhaps does lead to some clues to, Christopher Monson and Michael Tardio's death, and if this helps solve it, then that would be so fucking fantastic because it's been 22 years. And again, I think the recent light of all the violence in the world with shootings had really made me wonder about this whole situation here. And I can't help but think about all of that combined. And I'm not going to get too deep into that because we all know what's been going on in the world recently with all sorts of numerous things. But I can't help but think of Michael Tardio's family in all of this. Like, he had just a baby, a child at the time, before he and his friend got shot in a vehicle, and the vehicle got just ablaze in fire, even more horrific. So, shooting them wasn't enough. And then, it sounds like, as well, on top of that, they got lit up in a vehicle. How horrifying is that? I really don't know why someone would go to that extent. Maybe it was an inside job, in my opinion. Just on a personal perspective, I don't believe, in my opinion, that I don't think Mr. Big in this whole fiasco is even a real person. I think he, in my opinion, might be allegedly made up, and that's something maybe Sandy and Mandy. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have a hard time saying those names. I think it's something I think, in my opinion, Sandy and Mandy maybe came up with on the spot out of just being like heat on the moment, just they were kind of put on the pressure with a microscope under them, I assume, at the time, in my opinion, allegedly. So, like, that just seems like some bullshit answer, like, oh, who do you think might have took the jewels? Oh, Mr. Big. And as we all know, they were on a TV show called Sex in the City, and who's one of the main characters on that TV show? Mr. Big. So I do think perhaps that is something that they just made up, maybe allegedly spur of the moment, like that's what they could come up with, and think maybe that the cops were dumb enough to buy it. But if Mr. Big is potentially a real person, he could have, obviously, like they've been stating, this mystery man, he could have been at the Garden of Eden. And if you do look up pictures of July 2002 and type in Garden of Eden, Hollywood, California, 2002, you will see all sorts of events that were happening that month and maybe a month after. So I want to say in July 2002, they were hosting a Perfect 10 magazine for one of the models there that were, I guess, unraveling or revealing one of their covers for one of them. I mean, one of the covers that they were on. So I think that was an interesting topic because I do believe that there were a couple of Playboy models that were at this Perfect 10 party, that who knows who hosted this Perfect 10 party, but I just thought that was interesting. But again, it's a big affluent restaurant. There's going to be models, actors, all sorts of people from A to Z that probably go to this restaurant. But as I guess, in my opinion, when you're looking at these things as a detective mind frame, if you will, I don't have a certificate by any means yet, but when you look at it in that scope, you kind of can't help but look into other things that were maybe happening potentially in between that time beforehand, because it could really lead to some clues. Now, besides that, I did discover and really a interesting, fascinating article about three killed at West LA restaurant, and I'm going to read you this article, and I'm not going to read you it word for word, obviously, but it is from the LATimes.com, and it's called Three Killed at West LA Restaurant. So my nose is a little bit itchy, so don't mind me. Um, the three people that died were okay. The article was printed on August 29th, 2002, and I do believe they got shot on August 27th of 2002, and why I will explain why I think this article is interesting and maybe pertains clues in my opinion. So I will read the three killed at West LA restaurant that was published on August 29th of 2002. So obviously to witnesses, a suspected gang gunman shot and killed three workers at close range in front of a Wilshire Blvd restaurant in an affluent West Los Angeles neighborhood, authorities said Wednesday. The man fired several shots into Mario Cruz, 24, shot bullets into Cruz's brother, Avelino Cruz, and then also shot to death George Rodriguez, 22, each of whom have died. A fourth man, though, was also targeted but escaped unhurt by running into some bushes. He is 24, but police would not disclose his name. I find that very interesting. The gunman fled in what various witnesses said was a white Mercedes Benz or a pickup truck. This is what it says. I just think that's weird. White Mercedes Benz or a pickup truck. So what is it? A classy car or some country car? Or you know what I mean? So the three victims were described as trusted longtime workers at the Cuckoo Roo. By the way, I researched Cuckoo Roo, ended in 2014. The three victims were described as trusted longtime workers at the Cuckoo Roo on Wilshire near Bundy Drive. They were wearing their white restaurant uniforms when they were attacked about 11 p.m. Tuesday. The man who escaped is a friend who met the others at the restaurant for dinner. After eating, all four had walked around to the front where one of the group planned to catch a bus at a nearby bus stop. Then they were confronted by the killer who apparently had been looking for them, police said. We don't believe this was a random act. This was directed at these four individuals, said LAPD Deputy Chief David Kalish. We are looking into the possibility it was gang related because of the two victims have gang affiliations, he said. Sergeant George Karuri, head of Los Angeles Police Department local gang detail, said it is almost unknown for gang-related crime to spill over into this affluent area, which lies just south of the main business district board of Brentwood. Interesting. I'll get into that more, why I think it's interesting. The intersection where the shootings occurred is at least a mile from the closest areas known to be frequented by gangs, he said. Violent crime of any kind is rare in West LA. Until Tuesday night's shooting, there had been just two homicides to this date. Oh, pardon me. Violent crimes of any kind is rare in West LA. Until Thursday night shooting, there had been just two homicides to date this year in the 46 square miles policed by the LAPD's West Los Angeles division. So basically stating that it's kind of rare in this particular area to get any kind of violent crime like this to this extent, in my opinion. So I will read and continue after they said that. It says that's just a tiny fraction of the more than two, or that's just a tiny fraction of the more than 426 homicides that have been committed citywide since January. Police said a videotape from a Police said a videotape from a Cuckoo Roo surveillance camera is being reviewed. Robert Carl, a spokesman for the Irene based chain, said that the two Cruz brothers had worked at the restaurant part-time for more than 5 years. Rodriguez had worked there only about a month. So Rodriguez was new to here, so that's very interesting. All were well liked and respected by coworkers who were shocked by the crime, he said. Police are seeking a Latino man younger than 30s, about 5 feet 4 and 160 pounds, with a medium complexion, wearing a white t shirt and black pants. Now, that, in my opinion, sounds like a lot of Latino guys. They believe that he approached the victims on foot and exchanged words with them briefly before pulling a handgun from his waistband and shooting them numerous times in the upper body and shot them all to death. At least two fell where they were shot. A third fled into the street where he collapsed. I heard 4 shots, 4 quick shots. They sounded high powered, said a nearby resident who asked not to be identified. My wife said, "Those aren't gunshots," and I said, "Trust me." The incident touched a nerve with the peaceful area. Police reported receiving numerous of calls Wednesday from jittery local residents who asked questions about the murders or offered tips, he said. Rose DeLuna, 21, an employee at an incident cafe, came to work Wednesday to find workers cleaning blood off the pavement. Wow, that can be pretty scary. I can't imagine what they went through while just being at work, doing their thing, and then pop, pop, pop. I mean, that just got to be terrifying for those men and then the bystanders. My goodness. And then you got to keep in mind, too, as well, the business probably got affected for a while there. So I'm just assuming. So she also went on to say, "I always thought this neighborhood was calm," she said. "And then when I found out, I was like, oh my God." A sign with a black ribbon on the Cuckoo Rue door Wednesday read, "We will be closed for business today." Well wishers left stuffed animals, flowers, candles, and notes amid the shattered glass. "Our heart goes out to the victims and their family," read a computer printout. You know it's 2002 when they're saying computer printout. Employees trickled in throughout the day, huddling into the locker rooms with a grief counselor. Several wore expressions of disbelief and some were crying. West Los Angeles LAPD Captain Richard Wimmer expressed surprise at the brutality of the crime. "We just don't have a significant number of violent crimes here," he said. Police request that anyone with information related to the murders call 310-575-8400 and ask for detectives. So that ends that article. And why I think this is strange to me about the 3 men getting shot is because, as you know, about 6 days later, Michael Tardio and Chris Monson got shot as well in Studio City, California. Now, I looked up where Michael Tardio lived in Beverly Hills. Now, I want to I say, if you guys want to research this along with me on your maps, feel free to do so. Michael Tardio, I had confirmation he did live, and I can't give the numbers of the address, but if you want to type in South Palmer, no, pardon me, type this in: South Palm Drive, Beverly Hills, California, 90212, and then I want you to type to Sawtelle, Sawtelle. Now, the Sawtelle area is where these 3 men did get shot in that area. So, Michael Tardio lives at South Palm Drive in Beverly Hills, and from there to the Sawtelle area, which is where they got shot on Wilshire Boulevard and Bundy Drive, that is about a 10-minute drive from Michael Tardio's house of where he lived in Beverly Hills, which I found to be very, very interesting. And considering the time frame of when this went on, and just as a coincidence, I don't know, perhaps this could just be a coincidence, but as you know, Los Angeles does have many iconic things on the Wilshire Boulevard, and one of them at the time, I don't know if it still is or isn't, but I do think that it was at one point, that the Playboy headquarters was located at 10960 Wilshire Boulevard. Now, if you type that into Google Maps, 10960 Wilshire Boulevard to Wilshire Boulevard and Bundy Drive, If you look that up on the map, it is literally 6 minutes away from the Playboy headquarters, their corporate office, which is in downtown Los Angeles, I assume. And then, so I did take it upon myself when looking at Michael Tardios' address, and then of where this had happened in Sawtelle area, which is about a 10-minute drive down the road from him, and Kitty Corner a little bit over. So that's very interesting, if you ask me. Now, Sandy and Mandy Bentley. Now, Sandy is now known as Sandra Nadine Kaufman, and she works at the UCLA Nutri. She works at a psychiatric unit, from what I've told, allegedly. So yes, the Cuckoo Roo is shut down in 2014, I do believe. But I think it's interesting that if you take a look on Google Map of where George Rodriguez got shot and the two other gentlemen, it's about 10 minutes away from Michael Tardios' house. And then it's about maybe a 5 to 6 minute drive to the Playboy headquarters, which I find to be very interesting. Now, just as on a side note, I also took the time and liberation to Google the Bunny Mansion, if you will, from the Bunny Mansion to Sawtelle, and that's about a 15 to 20 minute drive at most. So, just another factor, even though it is not known, I don't think that Sandy or Mandy were living at the Playboy Mansion, but I just wanted to just quickly state that, and I thought that was interesting. What is interesting is that George Rodriguez, he was only 22 years old, and he was a 22-year-old Latino male, and he got shot in the Sawtelle area right around the Wilshire Boulevard and Bundy Drive. And from my understanding, looking up on the map, it seems that Japanese or Japan town is right nearby. So I'm assuming the Cuckoo Roo, a lot of Asian food in that area. So maybe perhaps the Cuckoo Roo is in that area, because they did say it was in the West End. And as you can see, what's really interesting to me about this three killed in the Los Angeles restaurant is that even the police member even said that it's very rare to get crime specifically here in this area, and it does sound like it is a more prestige and upscale restaurant. And I also find it weird that Michael Tardio and Chris Monson, I do believe Michael Tardio did work at a restaurant. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting that these two were also working at a restaurant. What I also find funny in the not funny, pardon me, I should say more interesting. That's just me talking out loud. But what I find more interesting is that when the three men got shot, is that the fourth one got away, and they would not disclose the name of that person. Maybe because he's a prime suspect of interest, and maybe he could have maybe allegedly fled on foot because he knew that this was going to happen, and maybe knew the people that set it up. Perhaps, I don't know. That's just my suspicion. But also on a side note, what I find very intriguing about this LA Times article about the three people that got shot, it seems like a crime that's never been solved again to this day, sadly. And I just find that very weird that there has not been one update, even from the family or any friends, saying, hey, it's been like, 22 years, or even on their 10th anniversary of the murder going unsolved. You figure somebody out there would have gave an update, or at least from, in my opinion, at least some of the officials saying like, hey, this case hasn't been solved in 10 years. If you got any tips, or at least kind of promote it to the public a little bit more. I find after August 2002, when these three young men, I should say, they were only in their early 20s. Holy crap. Um, yeah, I just don't know what to make of that, because the police even said that it's a very affluent little town in West LA, and it's very rare to get crime, gang related crime in that area. And so the fact that Michael Tardio, who lived on South Palmer, Beverly Hills, and then to the Sawtelle, Wilshire Boulevard, Bundy Drive area, is only about maybe a 10-minute drive, maybe 12 minutes at most from his house to there. And then from Wilshire Boulevard to Bundy Drive, and then you put to the Playboy headquarters, it's a really only a 6-minute drive. So I found that to be very interesting. And Mandy also now works at the Ohio Department of Public Safety. She now goes by Amanda Juliet, I do believe. I forget her last name. But what I find so interesting as well, that she works at the Ohio Department of Public Safety, is that Also, this is what their website offers. It says law enforcement recruitment. Are you ready? Learn more about a career in law enforcement. Crash report search. Search unofficial crash reports as reported to ODPS. So, and then the last one, which I found very, very, very interesting to me, in my opinion, and very made me raise an eyebrow to this. Also, they also offer missing persons working group to examine how missing persons cases are investigated and offer. So Mandy works at this place out of all places. Now I want to say Sandy maybe might have graduated around 2008 and then started working at the UCLA crazy department, if that's what it's called. I don't know. But I think it's so weird that these are the two specific jobs that they want to go after. Like the Ohio Department of Public Safety, and they offer missing persons working group. Now, she's also a computer software developer at this place. So I'd imagine somebody who would have privilege and access to these kind of files pertaining probably in the Ohio state. But I just find that to be very weird that she works at this kind of place out of all places. And then, yes, so I'm assuming from my research that Amanda lives in California, but from my research, this is in Ohio. So obviously, she splits her time between California or Ohio, or maybe lives in Ohio. But I find that very odd that she works at a law enforcement recruitment place and they also handle missing persons working group to examine how missing persons cases are investigated and offer. Now, that is very, 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 very strange to me, in my opinion. It almost sounds like you guys, in my opinion, chose these jobs to maybe cover up your dirty tracks later on. And I also wanted to add that Mandy, no, is it Sandy or Mandy? No, Sandy. There we go. See, their parents were really dumb for naming them that. Sorry. That's just an opinion of what I think. But Sandra Kaufman, I just think it's interesting that she works at a UCLA crazy department. And she lives in Westlake Village now, California. So I guess she's quit the big leagues of Hollywood and decided that she couldn't take it there anymore. I don't know, just a personal opinion. But I just find it weird that some of Sandra's employees have the last name Rodriguez, which I find very weird. Some of her former colleagues have the last name Rodriguez, and I know you guys shouldn't be thinking, well, Rodriguez is a big name. You shouldn't be so small minded. But considering where Michael Tardio lived and where this Rodriguez guy and the two others got shot is a little bit weird to me. And considering that she had over three colleagues with the last name Rodriguez, and considering that she was associated with this case that has been going on and unsolved for 22 years, it's just baffling to me. And I can't help but think that someone who would have privilege and access, being a computer software personnel type. I think it's odd that she works at the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Amanda Juliet, or whatever the hell she wants to go by, but not too sure if they did a name change or if they got married. Word has it, allegedly, can't say for sure, that Sandy might have a 33-year-old husband or boyfriend that might be hers. That's just alleged. So with this one, I really wanted to take my time and just read all these articles and really just try to give you the best of my knowledge of why I think, in my opinion, why it's so weird that Michael Tardio lives literally 10 minutes at most away from the three killed in the West LA area, this affluent restaurant, which is just even more odd to me because even they have said that not a lot of crime goes down here. So from where he lives to Sattel, maybe 13-minute drive at most, and from the Playboy headquarters to where the three men got shot is about a 6-minute drive. And the fact that Sandy Bentley has three former colleagues with the name Rodriguez just is really eyebrow raising to me, considering that maybe it could be a potential perhaps case of that maybe one of those colleagues with the last name Rodriguez might know the Rodriguez that got shot, because it is possible. It is very possible. That's just my opinion, allegedly. But There's just so many twists and turns in this that it's kind of a crying shame that Michael Tardios' children got raised without a father, and they can't say, "Hey, Dad, I got an A+ on this report," or "Hey, Dad, I'm getting married. You want to come to my wedding?" Or "Here's my first grandson," or "Here's my first college degree or university degree," or maybe just simply just hanging out, or maybe his son thinks to himself some days and goes, "Geez, I would just love to call up my dad, but I can't." And maybe some of Michael Tardios' other relatives and Chris Monson's relatives too, maybe they think that too, like, "Oh, damn, I was gonna pick up the phone, but I realized, he's dead." Like, I wonder if it ever occurs to Sandy and Mandy, and that really it takes a lot out of me to say it like that. Like, your parents must have been. I'm just playing. I'm allowed to joke with my free speech without defaming anyone because you guys are public figures and this is my opinion. So, don't you guys think it's odd that the three guys that were killed at West LA only live maybe a couple minutes away from Michael Tardios' home, and the guys killed at the West LA restaurant are literally 6 minutes away from the Playboy headquarters, which is not to be confused with the Bunny Mansion. But I even did take the time and liberation to Google the Bunny Mansion to this, and it's about maybe 15 minutes at most. So I find that very weird. And also the fact that Sandy Bentley has a couple of colleagues with the last name Rodriguez is even more interesting to me. It could, at the time, she had three colleagues named Rodriguez. Perhaps maybe one of that George Rodriguez that got shot, maybe that was one of their family members, or maybe they knew them. Something could add up here. And don't you find it interesting as well that when Michael Tardio and Chris Monson got shot, they also saw, I apparently, from what I hear, now don't quote me from this because it's been a hot minute since I watched Holly's show, but they did say Mercedes did get seen leaving, and I do believe a Mercedes was seen at the three killed at West LA. So very interesting time frame of considering when these three men were killed at the West LA restaurant, and then 6 days later, Michael Tardio and Chris Monson get murdered, and not just murdered, they got shot, and then whoever shot them made sure to set it ablaze. So they must have realized they might have not been completely dead yet, and that's why they set the fire and kind of just maybe leave a message to whomever that this was an inside job and that's why we shot them and burnt them. So if you were going to shoot them, you would just shoot on and move. But maybe specifically with this case, as we all know, that they had lots of jewels on them that were worth a lot of money. So Sandra Bentley from Westlake Village, California, I don't know how all of this might add up, maybe, and it might not, but it won't be official, like I say, until somebody investigates it. Now, I just think it's sad to me that Mr. Tardio's children and his friends and his family, maybe some of his crazy cousins that he liked, maybe think of times and go, those are the only times that we can really relive in our head and feel like we have them here. And it's not like they can maybe go up to them or, meet up at a restaurant they used to or whatever the case may be. And how horrifying is it for Mr. Tardio's children, the fact that they don't even have a father and they just grew up without one, and what is out there is just so horrifying, and that's what they have to live with. And the other fact too, which it is a fact, those children have to live with at currently, the killer is still on the loose and they might not ever know, but maybe this might change. I'm hoping that with some of the other clues in the interview I do have coming up and some of the other things that I have working on with this case, I'm hoping it leads to something more as well. Again, if you just take the time to look at some of the Garden of Eden, Hollywood, California pictures of 2002, there's events and you can maybe narrow it down. But if Mr. Big is, in my opinion, if he is a real person, which I don't think he is, but if he is a real person, I'd like to think Mr. Big is somebody who does gambling and maybe is a gambler. So just keep that in mind if he is a real person, but I don't think it is. I feel like Sandy and Mandy, Bandy, Mandy, blah, 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 their names are, I'm sorry, they are Those names are stupid. Like, no wonder why they changed their names. Like, for real, I would. Like, your poor parents must have been, I don't know, having a good time at Woodstock. I don't know, just playing. That's just an opinion, allegedly. But yes, Michael Tardio and Chris Monson got murdered 22 years ago, and it is September, so at the beginning of this month, it was sadly and unfortunately their 22nd year anniversary date of when this happened. And I'm hoping that with some of the information that I talked about, with some of my opinions and my alleged opinions as well, I'm hoping that these could perhaps lead to some clues and maybe some justice down the line. And like I said, I will be researching this more avidly and actively sometime down the line in the future, and maybe perhaps even making it a whole episode after episode segment and not so much per se my Playboy Mysteries section. But you know, if I keep doing research and if I feel the need to stretch these episodes out so it can all make sense down the line, then I'm going to. I'm very excited. I'm hoping that this interview type of gig with Germany will work out, and I hope that they hear me out. And it's just fantastic just to have an opportunity just for someone to hear me out, and the fact that there could be something more potential down the line from this is just ecstatic for me. But I can't really get into that part of the whole German thing, the Germany thing that I'm doing per se, maybe. But I want to just say thank you so much, guys. And let's just not forget Michael Tardios' family and how he had a little child at the time when he got shot, along with his friend Chris Monson. I'm not too sure if Chris Monson has some children. I'm just assuming that if he does, then they have also had to have the burden of not having memories of their father. And the only memories that they do have are maybe just a couple. So I really hope that you guys tune in next week. And I hope out of all of this, that with the world that we live in, considering the random violence and all that, I just hope that you guys are there more for your friends, more so than ever. For example, since this episode is now done, if you have a friend and they need a lift home from work, give them give them the ride home from work. If they're saying, "Hey man, I just need a lift home from work. I'm tired. I don't want to go on the train." Just do it. Just be there for one another in a little way. Don't walk home alone, everybody. Don't do that shit. Always have somebody with you. I'm telling you right now, and if you're on a res too, don't ever walk alone, even if it's just to get a goddamn pack of smokes. I swear to God, don't do it. Walk with somebody. And if your friend is having a bad day and needs a ride home from work and needs to get home, give them the drive. Look at some of this random shit that has happened in the world, along with other shootings that have happened in the world. Michael Tardios' death and Chris Monson's death could have been avoided, in my opinion, if they didn't meet those two mop buckets. Those two old senior mop buckets. And I'm allowed to have an opinion. If you look at the one photo of Sandy Bentley 5 months after this incident of the two that got shot, she's on a red carpet at an event, smiling, all cheers, all happy. She doesn't look like she's showing too much remorse, considering the fact that her boyfriend just got shot and lit on fire in a vehicle with his friend, and mere 5 months later, she's out on a red carpet, smiling, laughing, waving at the paparazzi and all the fans, like maybe the two fans that are there for her. But you figured you must not be that, in my opinion, so triggered or sad that, mere 5 months later, you're out doing events, smiling and waving on the red carpet. So you must have not been too horrified or too saddened by your boyfriend that just got shot. That's just a personal opinion on what I think, allegedly. Like, I just think that's weird that you're on a red carpet 5 months later and you're smiling. Doesn't seem like you're showing no remorse at all. You figured if you were healing and needed some time alone, considering you are a public figure and considering the case that you were just associated with at the time not long ago, 5 months prior, you figure it would maybe just be a good idea to lay low. I'd like to think that a grieving ex-girlfriend or widow, mind you, would be kind of staying out of the spotlight and wanting to avoid it, considering this is exactly the whole reason that it got you to where it did, allegedly. So I hope those two mop buckets are having fun, because they're going to be a part of my new investigation, I hope, coming up. But I'm really hoping that the right pair of ears talk to detectives about this three killed at West LA restaurant. The phone number is listed from the article, and maybe give them a shout and tell them about this video. And I'd also like to say to the Los Angeles State Police Department and the other California Police Department that were last offering the reward and still are offering this reward, I just want to say, hey, if this perhaps my alleged opinions and opinions perhaps that maybe pertain some clues, in my opinion, allegedly, if my alleged opinion lead to some clues that solve this, then I would like to hope that reward money to go to me. And if that is the case, then just comment below if you're the police department and be like, hey, we researched what we said, we want to give you the money. That would be great, because you know what, if I did get that reward money, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take Michael Tardio's brother out on a vacation, because he has been the one pushing for this for the public to ask them for their help. So I would take him out on a vacation, and we would just have a bunch of fun and get real buck wild. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I have another episode this coming Saturday, and it will be kind of investigating another Playboy model type that got murdered, and I'm hoping that some of my alleged opinions and opinions alone might help. So tune in on Saturday. I'm very excited. I'm getting kind of hot in this place. They just turned on the heat not too long ago, so I really gotta go have a nice slushy and maybe go mop my floors. I have two mops and I named them. I'm just kidding. Anyways, guys, hope you're having a fantastic evening, night, morning, wherever the fuck you are. I hope you're doing good. And please, let's just keep in mind Michael Tardio and Chris Monson's family members throughout all of this, because they are also the ones that have to live without him when they could not have lived without him. And consider the amount of crazy violence that has went on in this world. I will not let Michael Tardio and Chris Monson's death just become a flash of the pan. It will not, for me, in my opinion, just be a mere media frenzy storm that they make off money off of for a moment. I will keep looking into this and looking into this, because it is unfair to their family members, their friends, and the people who genuinely love them from the time they maybe knew them. So we need to keep that in mind, and considering the recent violence that has been going on in the world. I don't want people to think like just because it's been 22 years that their case has gone unsolved. Along with these three killed at West LA restaurant, I'm going to be looking more into that as well, because that's just the time framing of when that was compared to, the time framing and where Mr. Tardio lives is just very strange. And anyways, guys, I very much thank you for tuning in, and I'm sorry if I went on like a broken record and repeated things like that I might have already said, but I just wanted to make sure I got everything out there. And thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to start filming my new movie. It's going to be a wicked one. I'm hoping you guys laugh at this one. I hope you laugh your fucking ass off with your friends on my Darlene movie. I just filmed 2 scenes of it. It's coming right along. I'm gonna be doing CGI effects so that it makes her mouth move, and she's gonna be kind of a smartass, this Darlene killer, crazy, funny doll type, and I cannot wait to get into that more so. But maybe I should just wait until it's finished and then start gabbing about it. But I'm very excited because it's all coming along. It felt like an endless task before, where it was like, ah, damn, am I ever gonna get this done? Or are we gonna get something, on the ball rolling? But things are rolling. So thank you so much, guys. And the few fans I do have, you guys rock. I don't know what else to say. And yeah, I'm working on music soon too. So I think people who've been following me know that I've been working on some music. So I'm just kind of like nervous, because I don't know, music's a different forte for me, and it's a lot more different than movies. It's I don't know how to describe music. It's more like more physical, more of you. Where a movie is just like you film it and then it's over. But I feel like with singing, you give a little raw piece of yourself that's coming from the inside to others. So hopefully you guys will like my Darlene Killer Doll movie. It feels like it's taking forever, but hey, it's coming along, so that's all that matters. And don't forget, LA County Police Department, or whatever the fuck your guys' official name is. If these clues do, you know, get shit happening and solved, I would like that reward money 100%. And I will take Mr. Turdio's brother out on a vacation. maybe we'll go to Jamaica, and just sit on the beach and have some drinks, and maybe I'll find a local vase nearby, if you get what I'm saying, to put my other friend Mary Jane in that vase. That would be very nice. So hopefully, if Mr. Tardio's brother is listening to this, why not give this to the officials and say, hey, here's some interesting things. I can only hope that this and some of the other future projects about this topic maybe lead to something. I better get going because when I talk, I just never shut up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you're having a blessed, fantastic, amazing fucking day. And remember, be there for your friends. Drive them home if they need to drive home from work. Fucking for real. Just do it and don't even question me. Like, you would want them to do it too. So keep safe, everybody, and have an extra shot or two tonight, or an extra bowl, and not just breakfast, but just do you. Bring happiness to yourself and others, and drive people to work, man. Don't let them take your train. I better shut up because that shit, what I saw, man, you guys in America are absolutely fucked. I'm sorry, not one person wanted to help that poor, beautiful lady. She was only 23, and they just literally like, oh, we'll just like watch and maybe help you after when we know that psycho is out of the way on the train. I'm sorry. I can't get over that. If it's like I like horror movies, right? But I think we know as horror movie fans that that shit's fake and that was real. So drive your friends to work. Drive them and pick them up from work if they need it. Don't let them be alone because all these fucking weirdos. Love you guys, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye.